The thing about being controlled is that you don't lose consciousness. That's what nobody tells you. You stay exactly where you are, behind your own eyes, watching your body do things you didn't decide to do. Your legs carry you down hallways. Your voice answers questions. Your face holds expressions that belong to someone else's feelings. And the part of you that knows the real you, pushed to the back corner of your own mind, that part never stops knowing. That part is the worst part. I work in a federal containment facility in the southwestern United States. My job title is consultant, which is a word the organization I work for uses to make ordinary sounding language out of things that are not ordinary. In practice, what I do is interview inmates, and the inmates are not human. I have been in that facility for almost 2 years. I have sat across from things that most people believe don't exist, and a few that most people haven't even thought to be afraid of yet. The classification system we use puts them into tiers based on how much damage they could do if they were ever free. Class 1 through 4 are in cells. Class 5 entities are something we discuss in theory only, because you cannot contain a god. You can only hope one never decides you're interesting. What I interviewed wasn't a god. She was Class 2. A siren. That's the word we use because it's close enough to what she actually is that it works for documentation. She had been brought in on a string of deaths up near the Canadian border. The number of victims was unclear. She was not forthcoming about it. Her name was Mara. I'm changing it, which she would find funny. The first thing I noticed before every interview wasn't something I saw. It was something I smelled. The corridor leading to her cell smelled different from the rest of the facility, even from 30 feet out. The rest of the place smelled like recycled air and metal. The particular sour, clean scent of a building that filters everything. Her hall smelled like brine, salt, and something sweet that had no business being underground. I mentioned it to a colleague once. He said he had never noticed it. I started to wonder if she was doing it deliberately. Protocol for siren interviews required a visor, a full face shield treated with something I was never fully briefed on, though I understood its purpose. Direct eye contact with a siren can reach a part of the human brain that the rest of you has no access to. It doesn't feel like hypnosis the way people imagine. There's no drowsiness, no snap of fingers. It's more like a hand reaching into a room you didn't know had a door, rearranging the furniture, and closing the door again before you can look inside. Mara had a habit of being out of her restraints by the time I arrived. Not out of her cell, just out of her cuffs. She'd sit with her arms resting on the table, like she was waiting for a meeting that was running a little late. After the first few attempts to recuff her, we stopped bothering. She let us do it. She found it funny, even with the visor on. Her voice had a texture to it, a frequency just low enough that you felt it in your chest before your ears finished registering the words. I don't know if that was natural or deliberate. I wrote it in my notes. No one on my team had any comment on it. She didn't give me anything useful in the early interviews. She talked around my questions. Occasionally, she spoke about the people she had fed on in a way that was detached and fond at the same time, the way a person describes a restaurant they liked years ago. She was patient. I understand now that patience was the whole point. The part I have never told anyone comes next. I had been in the interview room for about 20 minutes. Mara was telling me a theory she had about the uncanny valley. The human tendency to distrust faces that look almost right but not quite. She said she didn't think that instinct evolved in response to robots or mannequins. She thought it evolved in response to something else. Something that learned to wear human faces long before humans started building dolls. Something with 2 eyes and an upright walk, and a voice that sounded close to trustworthy. She was leaning forward while she said this. Her voice dropped, and the frequency in my chest grew heavier. I didn't think of it as a warning. I thought of it as emphasis. Her hand came across the table and lifted the edge of my visor. It happened in under a second. I didn't move to stop her. I've thought about that a great deal since. I didn't move to stop her. I don't know how to describe what followed, except to say the room went soft, not dark. Soft. Like the volume on everything had been turned down except for her voice. She smiled and said something I cannot recall. Then she told me to put the visor back on, so we could keep up appearances. And I did. And after that I finished the interview and I drove home. That night I made dinner and watched television and went to bed. I remember all of it clearly. I also remember the knowing, sitting in the corner of my mind like a splinter I could feel but not reach. Wrong. Something is wrong. You know it, but you cannot get to it. Days passed like that. I went to work. I filed reports. I had conversations that felt like mine, but carried a slight delay. Like the words were cued a moment before I said them. Anyone watching from outside would have noticed nothing. The part of me watching from inside noticed everything and could do nothing at all. I don't know exactly how long it lasted. My sense of time during that period is unreliable. What I know is that it ended. Gradually, the way a smell fades when you've been in a room long enough that you stop noticing it's there. Mara has since been transferred to a different facility. I was not consulted on the decision. I haven't been inside her interview room since. I am told the brine smell is gone from that corridor. I have not gone to verify it myself. What I think about now is her theory about the uncanny valley, about faces that look almost right but not quite. She said human beings are the only species that experiences it. And she said she thought the reason was that the thing humans evolved to fear was never something that looked inhuman. It walked upright. It had two eyes. It spoke in a voice you could almost trust. I think about that theory especially on the mornings when I am driving to work and I catch myself in the rearview mirror and my expression is not quite what I expected it to be. On those mornings I sit in the parking lot for a while before going in, just to make sure the face is mine. I am never entirely certain.